recently attended the Quds Day rally in central London to get the views of those present about Israel, about Zionism and about Jews. Due to the heightened atmosphere at the rally, I had to ensure my questioning was sensitive to those being interviewed. I have also included footage of a selection of the banners being displayed. The sentiments expressed on these banners are accusatory. Do they and the interviews justify a response from the Jewish community? Call 0797 960 4346 with your comments. Can I ask you, sir, what Quds Day is all about?
Well, as I understand it, Quds is Jerusalem, and it's about the illegal, I imagine, about the illegal occupation of Jerusalem by Israel, which has been going on for a long time, and should have been ended by international pressure because of international law a long time ago. And the fact that Israel's got away with the occupation just shows how ineffective international law is in dealing with powerful states, Israel backed by the USA and Britain.
Why do you think Israel continues to occupy these lands that don't belong to them?
Because they believe that God is their estate agent and gave them the land, which is quite ridiculous. There's no historical basis in it, and in fact most modern Israelis have no historical links with the land of Israel or the land of Palestine at all.
And what do you think the United Nations should do to Israel in order to terminate this occupation?
It's difficult to know what the United Nations can do, given that it is a tool of the USA and US imperialism. But if the United Nations lived up to its charter, if the United Nations had lived up to its charter, the State of Israel would not have existed in the first place, because the creation of Israel contravened the UN Charter in that it didn't take into account the views of the indigenous population.
And you're holding up a poster, "We are Hezbollah, boycott Israel." What does that mean?
Well, Hezbollah is...
And obviously there's an injured boy there. What's this poster about?
Hezbollah is, I don't understand the language, but it's the party of God, or words to that effect. We are all, and I believe that I'm a Quaker, but there is only one God, and we all recognise the same God, I believe. Boycott Israel.
Boycott Israel. What's that about?
Well, as I see it, there is only one way to bring the State of Israel.
Economic sanctions.
Is some kind of boycott and sanctions, and in the way that we did with South Africa. And as with South Africa, it took a long time to take effect, but eventually it did, and the pressure was enough to change the South African government. And I think ultimately the same will happen with Israel.
Thank you very much indeed. Do appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Just allow the rabbis to come to the front, please.
Thanks. Many people here believe that Israel are an apartheid state. Sure. Can you tell my viewers why people think that?
Why people think that? I mean, it's a bit of a loaded question, but I think, well, because of the facts, Israel is built, like many other countries, on genocide, ethnic cleansing, which is still taking place against international law. And an entire population, through no fault of its own, has been is living in ghettos with sanctioned collective punishment for what they would call terrorism, but what is really just self-defense. I live in Beirut myself. My parents have been working with Palestinian refugees for 11 years. And the kind of poverty that you see in Beirut is only half of what happens in Gaza and the West Bank. Yeah, it's unhuman, and it doesn't need to be this.
What do you think the world should do about Israel?
It all depends on political will, and at the moment the political will doesn't seem to be there from those that are in power.
But why?
Why? I mean, there's interest. I'm sure Europe and the US have their stake in keeping Israel and
you're holding a poster,
yep.
End occupation, freedom for Palestine.
Yep.
Can you just expand upon that?
I mean, pretty simple. End the occupation. This doesn't need to continue. It's gone on for far too long.
So what will happen to the Jewish people that are living there at the moment then?
I mean, to be fair, there needs to be a realistic conclusion to this.
Is a two-state solution a realistic goal and something that most people here would adhere to?
I can't speak for most people here.
But what about yourself? Would you adhere to that?
I mean, I would say let's be realistic and let's not make the same mistakes that had happened 60 years ago and continue.
So you're a supporter of a two-state solution?
Yes. Yeah. I have faith in the Israeli people. Sure.
Do you?
Sure. I'm sure the average citizen is just out to live their life the way the average Palestinian citizen is.
Right.
If they can stand up to their government the way most Arab countries have in the last few years.
You're giving a very inspirational message here,
yeah.
that maybe peace can prevail.
I mean, all we can do is hope for that, right? I mean, that's why we're here. That's why I'm here today, at least.
Okay.
It's to keep that going and to remind the world that Palestine is still occupied, and even if it's a small voice, it's good to keep that voice alive, I think.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
1, 2, 3, 4. Occupation no more! 1, 2,
That's all right. The only thing you have to end up in a 955. 955. I'm already with that 955.
Can I ask you, madam, why you're attending the Quds Day rally?
To remind everyone about the plight of the Palestinian people, the dire plight of the Palestinian people.
And why do you think the Israelis behave as they do?
Because they can. Oh, when the people who control them are the most powerful, they control the media, they control governments, they control...
Is this the Israeli, the Jewish people?
I'm talking about the Zionists.
Right.
Jewish people don't enter into it.
Right.
We're talking here about Zionists.
Right.
And when world Zionists are in control, 3/4 of the world,
right.
then Israel feels it can do whatever it likes with impunity.
Right.
And it does.
And so many Palestinians have lost their homes, haven't they, since Israel has been created?
Not only lost their homes, they lost their livelihoods, they lost their lives, they lost their families were split, they lost everything, and they lost their and now they're trying to destroy their history in Palestine and their nationality to make it as if Palestinians never existed.
And Israel has been described as an apartheid state. Would you go along with that?
Well, I've lived there, so yes, I know it is. It definitely is.
And when you lived there, how did that manifest itself?
Well, to give you one example, I went into a shop in Beersheba to buy some food. I went to buy Lebanon yogurt and was told by the person at the till, an Israeli, that I couldn't buy it. He only served human beings and his food was for human beings only. It's extremely outrageous if you consider that they put Palestinians on buses from the occupied territories. They bring them into moshavs inside Israel every day. They work from 7 in the morning until the dark comes without any breaks in the boiling heat. They don't have to give them water, and at the end of the day, instead of paying them money, and we're talking here about women and children, they give them a box of tomatoes which are so substandard that they can't export them.
And would you be in favour of a two-state solution?
Well, it's highly unlikely now, as they have stolen so much more land. I don't see how it could ever work, a two-state solution now, as they've been allowed to expand, and it looks now as if in the Zionists creating the problem in Syria and Lebanon, it looks as if they're looking to go even further to expand for a greater Israel.
So what do you think the world should do about Israel then?
I don't think people need to do anything about Israel. I think Israel itself is going to implode in on itself. But what they do need, what the issue that the world needs to address is the way the Zionists are dominating everything within the world.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, basically we're here to show our solidarity with the Palestinian people. There's people of all faiths and cultures and creeds. We're all gathering here today to basically support people who are oppressed.
And the Palestinian people are oppressed, aren't they?
They are oppressed. And I was just making a point to my friend that it doesn't matter what they believe in. Even if they were Hindus, even if they were Jews or Christians, it would still be our duty as human beings to support them.
Is it the Jews, the Israelis or the Zionists that are oppressing the Palestinians? Or all three of them?
I think it's Zionist people, but I think more than that, it's the people who don't stand up and say anything about it. The people who are remaining silent, they're the real people who are oppressing the Palestinians.
And what do you think the world should do about solving the Palestinian issue?
Well, I think the most important thing we can do is to get educated, to actually understand the issues surrounding Palestine. Once we actually start to understand what's going on and the history of it, then I think things will begin to fall together in the end anyway.
And are you a supporter of this two-state solution?
I don't understand the two-state solution. I really don't understand it. All I know is that people are dying and that needs to stop. But what I can say is that we're always focusing on the people who are oppressed, and sometimes we need to turn our attention to the people who are actually doing the oppressing, and that's Israel. Israel is the enemy. And I think that we need to turn our focus towards Israel and look at what they are actually doing and what their motives are.
Well, I'm originally from Germany, so I came here to support my Muslim brothers and sisters in a very important event. And I'm here because I want to show up that we have a really big important issue which we have to discuss about, and this is Palestine.
And the issue is the Palestinians being oppressed.
Absolutely, and that's since 60 years. And since that time, 300,000 Palestinians died. Over 4 million Palestinians went outside the country as refugees in other countries. and we have to finish that problem because apartheid can never survive in the 21st century.
And would you say, is it the Israelis, the Jewish or the Zionist problem? What is it? Or is it all three?
Definitely we have a problem with the Zionist ideology. It's not the Jewish, it's not Muslim against the Jews or against Christians. It's just the ideology which brought division between the people.
The sentiments expressed on these banners are accusatory. Do they and the interviews justify a response from the Jewish community? Call 0797 960 4346 with your comments. David Barry at the Quds Day Rally event in central London.